Hello everyone, welcome to Code Kudos. In today's video, let's talk about JDBC with a practical example of connecting our Java program with a live database server. So without further ado, let's get started. So to connect our Java program with our SQL live server, first we need to make sure that the server is currently running. So to do that, go to your Windows search and type services, open the services app. So here, right now I'm using MySQL for a SQL server. So I'm going to search for MySQL. So this is my SQL server and it is not currently running. So to make sure it is running, you can either start the services from here or right click on the service and click on start. Now the Windows has started the service. To make sure my database is currently up and running, I can go to my terminal. So this is my terminal that I have connected with the MySQL server. I can see all of my database. So the database I'm going to use is called testdb. And the table I'm going to use is called employees. So this is the table that is present inside my database. So I'm going to use the Java program to get the values from this table. This is my project I have created in IntelliJ. And the first and foremost thing to do in any database connectivity is that you have to make sure you are loading up the dependencies. So this is my main dependency file. So right now I haven't included the dependencies for MySQL. So for that, to get the SQL dependency for Java, I'm currently going inside mv@repository.com and in the search, I'm searching for MySQL. So this is my MySQL dependency for Java. So as you can see, this is the latest version. I'm currently selecting the latest version. So this is the code we have to use for to get the dependency loaded up in our project. So I'm currently copying that code and inside our XML file, I'm going to create a new tab called dependencies. So inside this dependencies, I'm going to paste the code that I have copied from the MVN repository and I'm going to save the main file. So after saving this file, it will prompt me to load the main changes here. So, or you can use a shortcut Control Shift and O. So right now it is loading up the dependencies and we are good to go. So once our prerequisites are done, I'm going to go inside our main Java program and I'm going to import Java SQL libraries so that we can do some operation with our SQL server. So type import java.sql star. So this will import all the methods that are inside our SQL libraries that we can make use of. Now I have to first establish the connection with my SQL server. So for that, I need my server URL. So I'm going to create a string called URL that will have my SQL server connection URL in it. So this is my SQL connection URL. It will be same for most of the servers that are created locally. And along once you are done with this URL, you have to type the database you are connecting with. So in our case, it's testdb. So this is my server URL with database name. After the URL, we need a username and password to connect with this server. So I'm going to create another string called user, and we are going to create another string called password. So once this is done, we need to establish this connection. So right now we have defined the URL, username and password. So we are good to establish the connection. So for that, let me create a new variable of type connection. That we're going to use a method called driver manager, and in that there is a method called get connection. So as you can see, we have URL, username, and password. So we're going to use this specific method, and we're going to input our URL, username, and password. Let's say we want to run some queries in our database. So for that, we need another variable called statement. I'm going to name the statement as statement. So once the statement is done, we have to use our connection to create the statement. Now we need to run some queries to get the information from our SQL Server. So for that, I'm going to create another string called SQL query. Here, I'm going to type in the same string that I have used to get the data in our terminal. As you can see, this is a simple SQL query to get all the data from our table. We need to create another variable called ResultSet so that it will contain all the result that we have returned from this query. To get the output from our SQL query, so what we're going to do is that we're going to use the statement dot execute query. So in this execute query method, we're going to supply our string that contains our query. So the result set will contain the values that gets returned from this particular query. So to see the results, we're going to use a while loop, while result set dot next. Dot next method ensures that the while loop continues to run until the result set has value in it. In our table, we have multiple different types of data here. So we have an employee ID, which is essentially an integer, and we have employee name, which is a string. Similarly, age and experience are integers, and skill and employee type are strings. So to get this all the data from our result set, what we're going to do is that we have to define int employee ID result set dot. There is a method called getInt, and we have to pass in the column name. So employee ID present in the column called employee ID. So we're going to essentially pass in the column name as an input here, so that all whatever the value that is present in this particular column will get stored in this variable. So similarly for other variables, So here, employee name is essentially a string. So we are defining it as a string and we are using the getString method. I can use system.out.println to print the details we have fetched in the result set. And once we are done with our operation, we have to close our connection. So to do that, we can simply type. So we are essentially checking that if the particular variable is not equal to null, that is, that has some value in it. So in that case, we are closing those variables. So this will essentially close all the connections between our Java program and our SQL server. So right now I'm running this program. As you can see, we got the employee ID as well as the employee name. So this is essentially a read operation with our JDBC server, and we can perform all the CRUD operation through this same method. We will be covering them in the latest videos. On a high level, this is how you can establish a connection between your Java program and a SQL server. In later videos, we will see what are the best ways that we can optimize this program and make it production ready. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and thanks for watching.